Good morning, and welcome to our Sunday worship service. I am Cindy Magnuson. I've been with UU Church for several years. I'd like to extend a special welcome to all of those who are joining us for the first time. We are very glad that you are here, and you should have received a welcome packet with an information card in it. If you fill that out and drop it in the offering basket, we will be in touch to support you in finding your way into the community. If you are joining us online, you will find that link on your website to an electronic version of the same card. Our welcoming committee will be wearing yellow name tags. They can answer any questions or point you towards any additional information you may want. Whether you are new or not, please consider staying for coffee and conversation after the service, either downstairs in our fellowship hall or in your Zoom room. And now let's say words of welcome together. Whether this is your first or your 1,000th Sunday with us, and whether you strolled, rolled, zoomed, ran, or danced in, we are glad you chose to join us. We are one people of many views, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders. All are welcome here. Now we will take a moment to say hello across the technical divide. First, we're going to show the people joining us on Zoom. If you are at home, please turn on your camera. And don't forget, it's time to wave. And now, people who are attending the service in our building, it's your turn to wave. We do have a couple of announcements this morning. Food insecurity in our community continues to increase, and we've been struggling to keep our little free pantry stocked. If you can afford to contribute, please remember to bring non-perishable foods and toiletries for our donation basket downstairs by the entrance to the building. Thank you very much. Rodney has an announcement.
Tatsmewi. I am so pleased to announce that our MOU that we initiated back in December has been approved by the Nimipu. So we have a new MOU arrangement relationship with the Nimipu. I want to acknowledge their support of this. This is an MOU that is entirely framed within Nimipu concepts and principles. And it's more than just words. It's not just a new land acknowledgement, but tries to put action behind the words. We're planning on having a more formal signing back October when Reverend Elizabeth is here, and maybe during Indigenous Peoples Day Sunday would be appropriate time to have representatives from the tribe here, and we plan to go down to Lapwai as well. We will be holding workshops, we'll be holding after service meetings, and today I'll stay a few minutes afterwards if anyone has any questions about it. So again, we're entering a new relationship with the tribe, so thank you so very much.
Just briefly, what is an MOU?
Briefly, an MOU is a memorandum of understanding.
Thank you. And there's a special announcement that today the Historical Society will be having their ice cream social right next door. So if you want to hang around until 1 o'clock or come back, that will be right next door. And I think that would be really a fun time to see everybody. Okay, and here end the announcements. The land on which our church is built is part of the ancestral homeland of the Nimipu, the people, mistakenly called the Nez Perce, which stood for pierced noses by the early French-speaking trappers and traders. We acknowledge the land is held in sacred kinship since time immemorial, and that the land and its people suffered immeasurable trauma brought by Euro-American society. We seek to work with its resilient communities to show respect and contribute to the healing and nurturing of this Hitis, Wits, Wheaties, precious land, and all its people. We are hoping that folks via Zoom have a chalice or a candle to light. And will our chalice lighter come forward, please? And now let's light our chalices together. On the hearth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share. Chalice this morning.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Chalice Lighter. For folks who may not know me yet, my name is Ryan Urey. I'm new around here and kind of still learning my way around, getting to know folks, but no, I've actually been here 11 years now. The time goes fast, but a longtime member and involved in all kinds of places in this church. Today I'd like to talk to you about the voices of the voiceless. So it's no secret that in the United States, our justice system is anything but just. In the land of the free, we have the 5th highest incarceration rate in the world, which is improvement because we were first a few years ago. We have 4% of the world's population, but prisoners. Currently, there are 90,000 children in jails and prisons in this country, and 54%, over half of the adult inmates, have children on the outside. It's also no secret that racism runs rampant through our justice system, both the courts and the prisons, or that the amount of justice a person is afforded depends on how much justice they can afford. It would take far more time than we have today to detail the many flaws of our justice system, from wrongful convictions and false confessions, to the lack of police accountability, to recidivism, the near impossibility of re-entering normal society after you've been imprisoned, the evils of juvenile detention, prison labor that operates like legal slavery, or I should say as legal slavery, mandatory minimum sentences, solitary confinement, and outright torture. And it will take the work of generations to replace this fundamentally broken system. But today, I would like to discuss what we can do to bring a little bit of light and a little bit of humanity to this institution of human degradation. So shortly after I joined this church, I found a poster on the bulletin board downstairs advertising for the Worthy Now Prison Ministry letter writing program. And if you're interested, I put little handouts near both of the entrances if you'd like to get more information about this. This program is run by the Church of the Larger Fellowship, which is actually the biggest Unitarian congregation. It's entirely online, has over 3,000 members, and about half of those members are currently incarcerated. Now, since I grabbed that slip of paper and applied, I've been corresponding with Lawrence for about 7 years, and I started writing to one of his friends, James, about 4 years ago. So first, Lawrence, After a childhood full of abuse and neglect and abandonment, his own mother tried to kill him at one point, Lawrence was imprisoned at the age of 15, predictably. He's never told me why. After he was finally released in his 20s, he got 2 more years for violating parole, and then he got arrested again for armed robbery. Now, because he's in Florida and they have a 3 strikes law, for that armed robbery, he got 45 years in prison. So Lawrence turns 55 this year. Since the age of 15, he's spent 3 years not in prison. And if he doesn't get parole, he'll be released in 2048 at the age of 78. Now his friend, James is a murderer. In fact, James murdered a child. He was only a child himself at the time, and again, severely abused by his father. But even though he was only 14 years old, he was sentenced to life with no possibility of parole. He turned 41 this year, and he's been in prison for 27 years. He's also one of the friendliest, most compassionate, and most spiritual people I've ever met. It's funny how often I go to him to talk about my bad day, and he comes back with optimism and positivity, and it's amazing. So why do I consort with murderers and thieves? And why would I talk about this at church? It's because our call as Unitarian Universalists is to bring love and hope to the abandoned and to give voice to the voiceless. If we're serious about our 7 values and our 7 principles, or about creating a more just and equitable world, we have to go where the suffering is found. If we really believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, we have to look for it in places that don't have dignity or humanity. And now we do so much in this church to help so many different people and so many different causes. But underneath the clamor of the voices that are seeking help, it's important that we make an effort to remember the plight of all those who have no voice. And if we truly care about social justice, we have to confront a legal system that is, ironically, one of our nation's greatest sources of injustice. Now, if you need any further reason to care about the prison system or the people who live there, I invite you to look around at the many faces in our beloved community and to remember that in today's political climate, arrest is not something that only criminals need to be afraid of. So strap yourself in. This could get a little heavy today. This is not a topic for the faint of heart, but as our Reverend Elizabeth likes to say, we can do hard things. And this one really matters. But first, let's start with our opening hymn, Love Will Guide Us, number 131 in the gray hymnal. And this will be played for us by our special guest pianist, Lena Stewart. Thanks, Lena. Thank you. Please be seated. And now would the children like to come forward for our time for all ages? And we'll have a story read to us today by Trish Hartzell.
I can hear that train a-comin', it's rolling round the bend. I ain't seen no sunshine since I don't remember when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that train keeps rolling on down to San Antone. Now when I was just a little baby, my mama said, "Looky here, son, always be a good little boy. Don't ever play no guns." Shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Now I hear that lonesome whistle, I hang my head and cry. I bet there's rich folks eating in them fancy dining cars,
Probably drinking coffee, smoking big cigars. Know I had it coming.
I know
I can't be free.
But those
People keep moving, and that's what tortures me. Free me from this prison after that railroad train was mine. Bet I'd move it on over a little farther down the line. Far from Folsom Prison,
that's where
I long to stay. Far, 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 far away.
and I
Let that lonesome whistle, let that lonesome whistle, that lonesome whistle blow my blues away.
Thank you.
little cash for y'all.
You can stay up here, Al. All right. Today's reading is the poem, Those in Prison, by Susan Zalatan. We want them to be responsible, so we take away all responsibility. We want them to be positive and constructive, so we degrade them and make them useless. We want them to be trustworthy, so we put them where there is no trust. We want them to be nonviolent, so we surround them with violence. We want them to be kind and loving, so we subject them to hatred and cruelty. We want them to quit being the tough guy, so we put them where only the tough guy survives. We want them to quit exploiting us, so we cage them where they exploit each other. We want them to take control of their lives, so we make them dependent on us. We want them to be apart, of our community, so we separate them from our community. You want us to have self-worth, so you destroy our self-worth. We call it corrections. The meditation.
Circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole.
We are fortunate enough to have a couple of different testimonials. A couple of people have agreed to talk about their experiences working with incarcerated communities today. So our first guest speaker is Nick Koenig, who is going to speak to us for a few minutes about the University of Idaho's prison education program. Thank you, Nick.
Hi, y'all. How you doing? Good morning. It's nice seeing Amanda. I'm from Kentucky originally, so it's you don't need. I can speak a bit louder. You don't need to do that. It's gonna take a while to get all the way up here. So I think I've seen or been here a couple times before in association with the Westside Food Pantry and Inland Oasis, which is one of my fun side gigs outside of the university. But I just finished up my PhD at the University of Idaho, and I'll be around. And yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I just finished up, and what my dissertation was looking at was bringing together tree ring sciences with climate education and community organizing, and trying to thread those all together was an interesting kind of journey. But what all of this got me started from was doing AmeriCorps in Kentucky and Appalachia, and trying to bring education to regions and communities that have never been afforded those opportunities. And when I came to the University of Idaho, Omi Hodowitz, who's the person who started the Prison Education Initiative at the University of Idaho, I emailed her and was like, hey, I'd love to develop a class for the PEI, or the Prison Education Initiative, which has it works with the Orofino prisons and the Pocatello prisons, the men's prison in Orofino and the Pocatello women's prison. And just last fall, I taught the class I developed at the university called Climate Futures Catalyzing Change, and just specifically teaching it both to 19 incarcerated students and then 88 in-person students at the university, which was one of the greatest privileges of my entire life. And through that process, when you might think like, oh, why do folks in prison need to have education? It's one of the best ways to prevent recidivism, or basically going back into prison once folks get out of prison, education is the single best way. And when we also think about climate injustice in the world, all of us have felt climate kind of the changing in the Palouse specifically. By the end of the century, our community in Idaho could be 10 to 15 degrees hotter Fahrenheit, and then, which is bonkers in itself. And then about 10 times the amount of area is going to burn in Idaho by the end of the century projected. But when we think about us as a community, we can move. But folks in prisons, they don't get to move. They don't get to make that decision for themselves. It's if the guards have an evacuation plan, or if the prisons might have AC, which a lot of these buildings were built in the 60s and 70s, when in the Palouse and in Idaho, we didn't really need AC, right? So this is all to say, having education, specifically climate education, was just one of the single greatest privileges. And at the end of the class, I asked the students to write climate fiction short stories. That was their final assignment, and it actually got published in a little book called Resilient Dimension. We don't have them published outwardly online or anything because of re-victimization. However, if I can give my phone number out at the end of this, and I can give you all a copy, but I'd love to read one of the stories from my students, Chelsea. It's titled The Dome. I've never seen outside the dome. Some nights I just lay staring into the night, wondering what it was like out there. No one knows. They just tell me that for generations we have lived inside the dome so we can breathe in fresh air. But I always wonder, what is it like? They say it is dangerous outside the dome and that the world is full of toxins and gases. I wish I could understand what they mean. So I sit here with the rest of the only world that I know, inside this giant bubble, not ever knowing what it is like there, beyond the dome. I have never seen wildlife, nor have I seen trees. Nothing grows in this world of mine, but they say nothing grows out there either. We learn in school about the history of nature, grasses and trees and even flowers. It all looks so pretty. I wonder what it felt like. My mind wanders to a different life, a different place, and even a different time before the dome. The world was a beautiful place, green everywhere, birds chirping, kids playing. Then slowly everything started dying off. Man had created so many instruments and machines that were producing gas into the earth's grounds and air. Eventually, we realized we had to protect ourselves from our own doing. So the dome was built, and we have lived in it since. I don't know how other parts of the world are doing. All I know is what I'm used to. We have new communication with other parts of the world. I know that they have electrical devices to communicate with, but in the dome, we only have paper mail and face-to-face communication. We have built a new life, which has been my only life. Still, I stare outside and wonder. I think Chelsea's story is so poignant because for her, the dome is her everyday life in jail, or in prison in Pocatello. So I think it was just so beautiful to be able to center the stories of folks who are living with the current climate injustices that are going on in the world. I can give up my phone. Can I give up my phone number right now? If you want to, I'd be happy to get some copies from the UI Writing Center and give them to you all. And then also something else I wanted to plug is two things. Is you can donate to the Prison Education Initiative through the University of Idaho if you look it up online through their endowment. It got hit by Doge, so it's still going to happen, but it's going to be a bit more precarious potentially. And then also my friends and I were starting a Books to Prisoners program with Book People downtown, where we're going to be sending books to the Orofino, Pocatello, and then the jail or the prison out in Coyote Ridge, Washington. So yeah, my phone number is 502-550-9491. And I'll stay after the service as well and get some coffee. Yeah, it's 502-550-9491. Yep. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about the program, and it's just been a delight and privilege in my life to teach for it. Yep.
Okay. Why did I decide to become a pen pal with a prisoner? Perhaps because it was because my husband was incarcerated while serving as a conscientious objector. The memory of my scary visits to the cement bunker he served in, or the lockup barracks with chicken wire windows, and all those young men, which were boys, hanging out, yelling for some needed attention. Or was it the prison ride from D.C. to Mount Mead? sharing and learning with their families across racial, economic, and all other lines. Maybe it was the state mental institution in Pendleton, Oregon, where I did volunteer work. I taught writing and was a pen pal with Betty. Walls and cages. I know that my time spent with fathers as a CASA worker in the Orfino Correctional Facility has had a lasting impression on me. Seeking out qualities in the bad boys can be such an enriching experience, but helping them to see them in a positive light as a respected human. Walls and cages lock us all in, learning about others and sharing in their experiences. When I found the article about writing to prisoners, sponsored by the Church of the Larger Fellowship, I figured I could manage 30 minutes a month to write, and why wouldn't I? Of course, my involvement has been much more than 30 minutes a month, and I've been deeply enriched and rewarded by my 5-year correspondence with Marlon through the process of the parole board twice. And we've been celebrating his recent release via phone and photos. He served 30 years of a 50-year sentence for burglarizing his own home. He's now near family that he did not get to know or help raise. He did not get to be there as they grew up. He's becoming acquainted with his 6 grandchildren, and they're still kind of frightened of him. They are all in successful careers. His children are all in successful careers. They have all forgiven him, and they totally embrace him. So why did I want to become a pen pal? Maybe it was because I was privileged to get to grow up on an acre of freedom. No fences, no walls, and only chicken cages. Those monthly 30 minutes extended into hours of cherished memories. I will close as Marlon always closed his letters. Peace, be still.
So, what is the sound of injustice? Is it wails of suffering? Is it shouts of protest? Is it weeping? Is it moaning? I don't think so. I think the sound of injustice is silence. It's the silence of sweatshops and slave labor that are thousands of miles away. It's the silence of landscapes that are devastated for profit, the silence of war casualties, the silence of history forgotten, sometimes deliberately. It's the silence of addicts, the elderly, the homeless, the disabled, and everyone else who gets forgotten. This nation's prosperity has always been the fruit of someone else's unseen suffering, someone else's desperate hunger, someone else's life without options, someone else's broken body, someone else's poisoned river. We're very proud in this country that we abolished slavery and that we've done so many of these great things, but as far as child labor or environmental devastation or even slavery go, we mostly just exported them. I thought it was pretty comedic a few months ago when some of the economic folks in the Trump administration were talking about bringing back factories to America and reinstituting this kind of menial factory. Americans do it. And people were so offended by that idea, and yet are not nearly so offended that these jobs are already being done by Asian children. It's also practically a law of nature that white Americans can't be expected to do the labor of producing their own food. We have trouble imagining a worse fate for ourselves than that which we impose upon others. And I wonder if part of our country's animosity towards immigrants reflects just how much we depend upon them and the resentment about that. Or maybe our outrage of many of us at being exploited by the wealthy is a bit of a projection. I mean, we don't exploit the global poor directly, but each and every one of us benefits from those who do. And we generally don't like to think about it for obvious reasons, and we generally don't have to. And we don't want to because it can feel very hopeless, and it's out of sight, and it's out of mind, and it's absolutely silent. That silence is the sound of injustice. And in fact, I think all oppression is at its root some form of silencing. So if we wish to oppose oppression and injustice, we have to break this silence. We have to give voice to uncomfortable truths. We have to speak, excuse me, we have to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. And doing so is our most vital act of resistance in these oppressive times. This is why dictators and demagogues, they always focus their first attacks on the artists, the scientists, and the journalists, the writers, the ministers, the teachers, comedians. And the thing all of these have in common is that they're all professional truth tellers. Because the truth is unbearable to those whose identity or self-respect, their purpose, or their source of power depends on some shared deception. And because they need to maintain this denial at all costs, that's what drives the rage and violence of these authoritarian regimes. So to serve freedom and human dignity and life, our first obligation is to speak truth. And I don't just mean being truthful when we do speak. I mean actively and aggressively and deliberately advancing and championing all that is true. We have to make noise, bravely, courageously taking a stand, shouting it from the rooftops, because it's not lies that kill the truth. And in that silence, injustice thrives like a creeping disease. So, lovers of freedom, raise your voices. Speak for the silenced. For only in being heard and being seen do we become fully human and not just clever animals. This act of bringing forth the humanity of others by seeing them, hearing them, giving them voice, well, we call that love. To love is to acknowledge the truth of another and so honor their humanity. To love is to give a voice. To oppose injustice and contradict lies is good, but it's not enough. We have to create a justice that's more than the lack of injustice. We have to advance a truth that's more than the lack of deception. Even tearing down every last prison wall won't free us from the walls inside. It takes more than overthrowing villains to make heroes of us. But, heroes or not, each of us has the power to bring light to hopeless places. And all it takes is a human connection, a single loving act to replace walls of silence with the song of life. So let us sing. Our closing hymn today is We'll Build a Land, number 121 in your gray hymnal. Now, we'll only be singing the first two verses. Also, I was asked to modify the language just slightly to make it more gender neutral and a little less Old Testament-y. So the new words are in yellow on the slides. If you're following along in the hymnal, you'll want to take note of those. So thank you, and let us sing together.
Our closing reading is titled When I Wake Up by Gary, who's an incarcerated member of the Worthy Now prison ministry. When I wake up, I find myself in an environment that's so different from the one I once knew. I find that I've not merely traveled out of society, but to a place no one warned me about. I collect my thoughts for a moment while gazing from the window of my cell. The rain-slicked razor wire in front of the house unit is being cleaned once again by nature. I never fail to be surprised by the same landscape, time and time again. Just as I perceive this, suddenly the texture of reality has changed once more. It's as if the transition from society has been nonstop to this Satan's cave. Here is where I dwell in a momentary lapse of reason. Join us now in our closing benediction. There is a love.
In the words for extinguishing our chalice, we extinguish this chalice. May it guide our way until we are together again. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for your willingness to confront this very heavy topic. The voices of the voiceless are some of the most painful to listen to, but listen we must, because that's the first step in healing human suffering. If you'd like to become a prison pen pal and bring some connection to a life abandoned, please take one of these small handouts provided near the entrances. And if you have any questions or want to know more about it, please find me downstairs at coffee hour, and I'm happy to help. So thank you again for listening. Please join us downstairs for coffee after service, and please come back next Sunday. Thank you.